So, hello everyone. Welcome, Flawless family. Thank you so much for being here, Maureen. One of our greatest things that we're celebrating this month is National Intern Day, where we really look to celebrate on a global scale all of the amazing opportunities available to interns, and with the goal of fostering insight into the workplace and just undertaking the professional world. And we are so happy to have Maureen Mahoney with us, who is the first Flawless graduate to serve on our board. Maureen serves as an advisor for sponsored projects and funds at Rockefeller Philanthropy at Initiatives. That's so awesome. During her time as a student at the University of Michigan, she worked as a Flawless Foundation intern and fellow, igniting her passion for mental health and criminal justice reform. Additionally, she contributed significantly as the head of fundraising for Michigan's American Foundation for Suicide Prevention chapter. Maureen's philanthropic expertise, operational proficiency, and fierce advocacy for mental health issues makes her an invaluable member of the team. And we're so happy to be able to have this conversation with you, just a flawless talk, and be able to go through your journey. So thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to hearing about your transition and just your path from flawless intern to board member.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Of course, thank you. So we are going to begin how we really like to start our flawless talks, which is asking, how are you really? So beyond just like a good, let's dive in and say, or let's talk about how are you really?
Thanks so much. Yeah, right now I would definitely say I'm actually doing pretty great. I am coming back from 2 weeks of vacation, so mentally feeling really refreshed. And, it was a good break from work and everything, able to unplug, disconnect. So feeling really refreshed and relaxed after that. Got some big things coming up. I'm moving in a couple weeks, so little busy and nervous about that, but overall doing pretty good.
Right, that's so good to hear. Those big transitions are always fun to undertake.
Yeah. And what about you? How are you doing, really?
I would say I'm doing well. I've had like a busy week at work. I work as an intellectual property paralegal. So it has been busy, but at the same time, I'm reframing as to I'm being trusted with greater projects. So that's always exciting and being able to see the growth. So I guess I'm reflecting and just taking it in, but also giving myself some time to like deal with how different everything is at this point.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we'll jump on to some of the flawless journey. How did you first learn about flawless?
So I was in college. I was studying, I was getting my degree in public policy, and I was focusing on criminal justice policy, really interested in juvenile justice, which then sort of led me down the path of mental health and education and all of that, and how all of those different avenues are really intertwined. And so my mom had talked to her sisters about it, and they were just asking about updates in my life. And one of my mom's sister's daughter, so my cousin, had a friend who had actually worked for Janine in the past and thought it would be another great connection for me to have in that mental health and criminal justice reform space. So got connected with Janine. We talked, and you know, pretty much soon after that started working for Flawless, and it was great.
That's awesome. I really do appreciate the intersection of criminal justice and mental health. So that's definitely, it seemed like a perfect opportunity. Um, when did you start working for Flawless during those times? And how long did you work for Flawless and in what capacity, if you don't mind sharing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I started, it was winter of my sophomore year of college. So it's been 6 years now, 6 years ago. So again, right after Janine and I first connected, sort of did an interview and an intro writing sample for her, and then started working part-time that winter throughout my school year. And then that summer in between my sophomore and junior year of college, I was working full-time remotely. This was before COVID and everyone was working remote. So it was a little unique, but it was really great. It taught me a lot. So I was working full-time that summer, and then when I went back to school, I started working part-time again for Flawless, and sort of on and off for the next 2 years, the last 2 years of my college career. I worked on and off just depending on my course load, took some time off when I was abroad and those sorts of things. But that was when I started working as a fellow. I had originally started as an intern. And then after working there for about a year, got promoted to fellow, which involved like training the new interns and mentoring them through the program that I had sort of just gone through over the last year.
That's great. I really appreciate learning that you were able to balance it based on what else was going on with your education and just overall summer. So that's really great to hear. I would say internships are definitely a great way to enter the workforce and really like gain insight about everything that you can really experience or expect in the professional world. So what advice would you give to someone considering an internship? And not only that, perhaps weighing different internships that they might try to approach.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of wanting to pick the right one, I would say one, you can't really go wrong because internships really are about trying things out and seeing what you like and seeing what interests you. And it's hard to know without you trying it at all. So I think that's really important. Some of the best advice I've gotten is really just say yes to everything at this time in your life. There's just so many opportunities in front of you, and you never know what different things are going to lead to, what sort of people you're going to meet. So if you have an opportunity, really just be open-minded and curious and ask questions. And so, yeah, in terms of which internship to take, I would say step outside of your comfort zone too. Don't just take the safe option. Don't just take something that you think might look good on a resume. Take what interests you. Take something that is really going to help build your skills and give you that foot in the door and that career path that you want to go down. And once you're in the internship again, I think just being open to everything you can and really using it as a real learning experience rather than just something that you can put on your resume, but talking to as many people as you can at the company, even if you're not directly reporting them, just gaining experience from other teams that you might see in the office or work with on just a transactional level. Have those coffee chats with them and learn about their job. Maybe you end up not liking the specific role that you're in, but then you might be interested in a different role in the organization, things like that. So yeah, I think just be curious, try to learn as many skills as you can, be open to new opportunities, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Internships are really your first experience in the corporate world. And so you're going to be doing things that you've never done before. It's going to be different than just writing a paper or taking a test and getting graded on it. You're going to be getting real responsibility, and odds are you're going to make mistakes, and that's going to be okay. So accept that and own that and learn from that. And yeah, in the end, just really have fun with it, see where your passions lie, see where your skills lie, and go from there.
Yeah, that's really awesome advice. I think the idea of say yes to everything really resonates with me. Personally, like from my first generation background, I feel like there's very limited jobs that I was like as a high schooler or then as a college student aware of. So internships really open the door to you might have a passion and there might be a profession out there that really addresses it and that you can do like great work for either like community or creativity. So the idea of saying yes to anything is really a great point. And also, yes, making mistakes. I feel like if there's a good time to make a mistakes, it's when you're an intern and just a little bit being babysitted by whoever babysat, I guess, by whoever is managing you and like teaching you, because those are great learning opportunities. So thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. And one other thing I think I want to add about, which ones to take, which ones to look at. I think a big piece of advice that I've learned in my career as well is don't underestimate yourself and don't not apply for something because you feel you might be underqualified. There, you're just losing out on an opportunity for no reason. The person posting a job posting, they're trying to sell themselves too in the description of their company and the description of the role. And I think women and people of color, it's been shown that they are always under applying because they feel that they're underqualified. So just always go for it. You have nothing to lose. The worst that's going to happen is that you do get rejected. And so, yeah, I think really believe in yourself, believe in the skills that you do have, and don't sell yourself short.
Awesome. Yes, that's absolutely great advice. On the same tone, what is some advice you would give to someone that is transitioning from an internship role to then like a professional or permanent position?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of that advice still applies. I think, again, be open to things, stay open to learning and continue to be curious. I think it can be easy to, once you've landed the job, feel like you're set and just get complacent in the role. But to really continue to take inventory of, if you are happy in the role, if you feel like you're growing, if you feel like you're learning, and if you're not, do something to change that, whether that's asking for more responsibilities or maybe reevaluating the position that you're in, or learning more from people around you. I think it's important to just take stock of how you're feeling, every couple of months if you're still enjoying it. Another thing that I think is super important is just continuing to network and keep those relationships open, whether that's with people that you used to work with at your internship, or vendors or other people that you work with in your role. Just keeping those relationships open, I think that's one of the most important things in the working world. And I think that's what makes the day-to-day of any job so much better, is just having those strong relationships with the people that you work with. So I would say that's one big thing. And along with taking inventory of how you're feeling and if you're liking it, also always be taking inventory of the skills that you're gaining and the skills that you want to continue to attain. And seek those out through professional development opportunities if your organization offers that, or different courses or books. There are just so many endless learnings, and that you can go down so many different routes, even if you start in one. And so to not feel stuck where you are, there is always ways to feel happy in what you're doing, and also to continue to take inventory of your accomplishments. One thing that we would do at Flawless was, I forgot the name of it. It was something cute, but at the end of every week we would send a report of everything that we had done for the week. And it was really helpful, one, just so that we could document what had been accomplished and sort of keep track of everything that was ongoing. But also at the end of the summer, you really have this whole long list of everything that you accomplished. And so it's just great to sort of have that as like, hey, I did this, I can do this job really well. Like I know that I'm doing well. And so it's just good to keep in mind. And the final thing I would say in general, just transitioning into a full-time job is really prioritizing yourself first always, and your well-being and your mental health. It can be a lot going from school or internship or any other sort of experience to a full-time job, and it can start to feel monotonous or just overwhelming. It can be time consuming, and so taking those sorts of breaks that you need to ensure that you're still prioritizing your health, that you're still getting the exercise that you need, that you still have time to eat healthy and sleep right and all of those things. I think that's super important.
Yes, I do think that's so important. I think finding that balance is key, especially as you enter the workforce or even with an internship. And um, there's a lot of companies that really value that culture. So it's great to feel that the place you're at matches. I really like your advice about taking inventory. I feel like sometimes people do think the finish line is getting the job, but then it has to fit, your interests and your passions and even the way you work, your work style or the form of teamwork that takes place. So I really think that's great advice. I think at Flawless we still do it called victory reports.
Yes, that's what it was.
It is great. It's a great way to actively be reflecting on the things you do. So celebrating big and small accomplishments is definitely really great. Something you
Absolutely.
mentioned towards the beginning was also curiosity. One of my favorite podcasts, I think it's something like Be Well. It's not Be Well. I forgot the name, but essentially, there's different speakers that talk about good ways to have a good life, the Good Life Project. And I listen to it all the time. And I recently learned that a great way to approach life is to have curiosity. So instead of like approaching anything with confusion or anger or anxiety, you can always just start asking, like, why? Why did this happen this way or that way? And it's a great way to learn and feel less anxious as we approach transitions. So I definitely think that's great advice.
Absolutely. I think that's super important too when you're deciding where you want to intern or where you want to work. Again, you have to remember in an interview or anything along those lines, you need to be interviewing the company or organization just as much as they're interviewing you. You want to make sure that you have that culture fit and that they're going to value you as a human being before just an employee of their organization. And so, don't be afraid to ask all of those questions to ensure that your values align with your organization before accepting your job. Like you said, getting the job is not really the finish line, it's actually just the starting line.
Yeah, great. Exactly. Um, Transitioning now to skills, I think we have agreed that one of the greatest things about an internship are all of the great skills you can add to your toolbox. What would you say are some of the greatest things you learned at Flawless that you have applied to your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one of the first and biggest things that we learned was definitely social media management. I didn't have too much experience in that going into it, and so it did take a lot of training, but the Flawless leaders were so great at sort of implementing that training program, and teaching me, and we would practice before I would post anything, and then by the end was just feeling so confident in doing that for them. I also think some of the other skills is really project management. We had a lot of independence at Flawless to sort of pick a project, present it to some of the leaders like Janine, and then basically given the go ahead to run with it. For example, when I was at Flawless, I had executed a excuse me, fundraising campaign where I reached out to different vendors to get goods donated and researched a bunch of different websites to host the online auction on, coordinated sending out the prizes, coordinated all of the social media postings to get people interested in it. So all of that, I had never run an online fundraiser before. I was reaching out to companies that I had no affiliation to, asking if they would donate gift cards, which also taught me, really just that communication skill. And so being able to sort of see a project from start to finish and all of the pieces that go along with it has helped me immensely to sort of project manage in my career now. And I think that's something that's unique with Flawless. You don't get that autonomy and freedom in most internships. So I think that was something that was like absolutely crucial. Also just communication in general, really. Communications in the sense of social media, obviously, but on a more personal level too. Like I said, it is mostly remote environment with the exception of those in-person events. And so it really is up to you to be upfront and honest of what's going on, how different projects are going, if there's a delay, if you need help with something. And so being able to communicate with different team members, with my manager, that has helped me also immensely in my current career. And then I would say another big one has been just sort of the leadership and management. So once I was a fellow and being able to train the other interns in the same way that I was trained, that has just helped so much. I think it really puts a new perspective when you are managing someone else and you're partially responsible for their well-being and their success, and you want to see them succeed, and you learn a lot about yourself as a person and as a worker when you're overseeing someone like that. So that was really awesome too. And again, something that I think is pretty unique to Flawless, that you're able to basically be managing someone that's soon into working with them. And then I think a final one, which I've touched on briefly, is really just the networking aspect. I think it's just such a crucial skill in life and in your career. So going to all of these in-person events, I was flying to all across the country for different events, and many of them I would be representing Flawless myself. And so it would be going up to, attendees that I had never met before, but had seen that they were going, and striking up a conversation and finding those commonalities between us, and getting them connected with Flawless and our mission. And that sort of thing will never stop being helpful in your career, whatever you're trying to achieve. Just being able to break that ice and talk to people in a room like that, it has been so beneficial.
Sorry. That's awesome. I have to agree. I think networking is not something I personally have learned in school or college at any point, but it's probably one of the most impactful things in your professional development and even your personal development. So I'm really glad you have highlighted that. I also do really like taking on projects from start to finish. I think it is something that is unique to Flawless and that interns or fellows can really undertake earlier on in their career than in most other roles. So that's definitely a very valuable skill that I also value about Flawless. I'm kind of wondering, since we tend to emphasize health and wellness so much, if there are any skills in regards to that wellness, well-being, self-care that you have applied to your personal life.
Yeah, definitely. I think sort of what I touched on earlier is really just that work-life balance. Working in a mental health organization, it's so prioritized, and you don't see that in every other company. Many of the people that I'm close with, their organizations don't have that same sort of priority. And So I think it's really made me take a step back and ensure that I'm always having that balance. And again, just putting my health first and my wellness first. Something that I've learned, again, I was remote with Flawless. I actually have always been remote with my current jobs as well. So a little different, not always in the office space. So it kind of adds an extra layer of prioritizing that mental wellness. So a couple things that I do is really just like getting outside, going for walks throughout the day when I need a break from work, and also prioritizing my personal relationships. I am living alone, working from home, so at times it can be lonely, and so ensuring that I'm connecting with friends and family, neighbors, just other people that are in my life, to ensure that I get that social connection, because that's something that's super important to me and super important to anyone's mental well-being.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really great.
And what about you? What are some skills that you've learned in your current position as a paralegal?
Um, I would say I have also really learned in managing tasks or projects from start to finish. That really resonates with me. Something that I learned at Flawless is double and triple checking my work. I feel like a big part of transitioning to the professional world is how accountable you are for anything you put out. So you really want to be proud of that work and be able to present it and just be confident that there's limited mistakes or that anything that is included is valid and that it has been checked and double checked and that all research is really what it has to be. So I would say that. I would also say communicating about deliverables. So knowing how to manage my time and manage the different tasks I'm working on is something that I learned early on Flawless. If I'm being given 5 different tasks with the same deadline, I have to plan ahead or I have to communicate with my team or with any managers that perhaps we have to work something else out or I might need assistance in one way or another. So really being able to like access the resources I need has helped me a lot as a paralegal. Yeah, and I'm really glad that I also kind of grasp the same things about Flawless, about wellness, checking in with myself and being able to say, that was a stressful day. Like maybe I need a walk, I need to unplug. I shouldn't be looking at a screen for the next 30 minutes as like my downtime today. Maybe I should
Mm-hmm.
breathe in some fresh air has been a great, skill and just something that I think will always be valuable.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that.
But on the same vein, what are some of your favorite moments during your time as a flawless intern?
Um, Definitely a lot. I think it would definitely have to be one of the in-person events. Again, I think what's so awesome about this work is the community that it creates. And having worked with Flawless for a couple years and going to many events in the mental health space, you would really start to see the same people. And so it was so awesome just creating those relationships with those people, seeing them at Mental Health America in DC, and then a different health conference in Nashville, and then up in Maine, just all over, and just seeing the dedication and passion from other people. One of my favorite events that I attended was, I believe it was 2019, maybe. It was called Unite for Mental Health. And it was before the 2020 election. The Kennedy Forum had put on an event with some of the candidates that were running for office. And the whole focus was on mental health policy and health policy. And again, because I was studying public policy and I was really involved in politics, that was really cool for me to see that intersection of policy and mental health. You know, it's not a hot topic debate. You don't hear them talking about it on the big news channels, but it's something that affects every single American. And so to hear the candidates actually be able to give their take on things and their plans for implementing some improvements to our mental health system in America. That was really awesome. We got to meet some of the candidates too. So that one was really cool. And then, you know, we've also just had a lot of fun as a team. Janine and I, one of our favorite memories is when we were down in Nashville for an event, and we ended the night going line dancing on Broadway. So that was really fun for us. You know, I think it's great. She also really prioritizes the bonding between the team, and it's not just all work all the time. Like, there really is that human connection level, which is, I think, is so important in any internship or job too.
Absolutely. That sounds like a lot of fun, especially the traveling. I really appreciate that aspect.
Yeah, it was great. What about you?
I would also say the in-person workshops are some of my favorite. We have done a couple of those in Florida, and in a lot of them, we do everything from sharing a meal with the youth, as well as then doing an activity and having different talks and checking in. And I really like the balance of being able to have a whole afternoon with young people, especially when we get to do activities such as arts. Um, Sometimes if schools have low funding, the first things to go are those really fun, like artistic activities that call for creativity. So being able to unplug and teach art as a form of self-care and like just relaxing is probably one of my favorite things. Um, I would say then, like on a weekly basis, I really enjoy the team meetings where we do start our team meetings with that check-in, how are you really? And it opens the space for our different team members to really share how they're actually doing, and sometimes to vent or to share their successes. And it does create that form of bonding and community that even if we're remote and just looking at each other on a screen, you can really celebrate the accomplishments of another person or provide support during a difficult time, or counseling during, oh, I've been through a similar situation. So it's really nice to have that on a weekly basis.
That's great.
Yeah. So transitioning on to your current work, can you tell us about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been with Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors for a little over a year and a half now. So I'm on the sponsored projects and funds team. So what that means is we are a fiscal sponsor. So we house small nonprofit essentially within us, and we provide their grant management, financial management, compliance, legal, basically a lot of their back end operations, so that they're able to focus on all the programmatic work. Because a lot of the struggle with nonprofit initiatives is the cost of overhead, and with a small team, it's hard to have a full HR system, or hire legal counsel if you only have 2 employees. So we basically provide all of that for them. And so one of my main roles is really focusing on the grant making, the outgoing grant making for my projects. So that's really cool. I have a wide range of projects in my portfolio, mostly focused on health and education, and some arts and culture as well. So it's really cool to see a lot of different initiatives that the different projects are working on.
For sure. That sounds great. It's especially interesting to me to be able to work with different nonprofits that might address different needs in a community. So that sounds really awesome. Um, but now transitioning on to your position on the board, would you tell us what made you want to take on a leadership role by joining the Flawless board?
Yeah, absolutely. At first, I have just always been so grateful to Flawless for my internship and fellowship with them and the experience that it has given me. As you know, it's been made evident in this interview. Like, I have just learned so much from Flawless, and it just set me up so well for the rest of my career. And I've really worked in the nonprofit and philanthropy space, since I've been working. I've worked in a lot of different roles and communications, the programmatic side, fundraising, compliance and operations, grant writing. I've worked with big nonprofits who have $50 million budgets, with small nonprofits with $25,000 budgets. So I've really seen and experienced a lot. So I felt like I had the expertise and experience to contribute to Flawless and really give back after everything they've given to me. And mental health has always been a passion of mine. So it's been great to be able to help and support a cause that I care about and an organization that I care about in this new way. And yeah, it's been great even since I've started to be able to meet some of the interns and just think how crazy it is that I was there, 6 years ago, and now be able to be on the board. So it's been really awesome so far.
That's great. We're so lucky to have you. But we like to finish our conversations and our chats with a note of hope. So we tend to discuss a flawless world or an ideal world of sorts. What would you personally envision a flawless world to be like? What gives you hope that we're moving towards a flawless world?
Yeah, definitely. To me, a flawless world is really everyone being happy in their own skin, accepting who they are, also accepting others, being able to bridge the divide and overcome differences and really accept differences rather than pretend that they don't exist, and be able to just everyone live a life that makes them happy, whether or not it's someone else's way of life. And I think that's the most important thing. Everyone being able to have relationships that they care about, have a job that they care about, be able to be with friends and family, all of those things. And what gives me hope, I think, is really some of the clients that I work with in my day-to-day life. They're just working on so many unique challenges that we're facing in the world. And I think it can be easy to get stuck in the news cycle and lose hope and feel like we're not moving towards a more flawless world. But really, you sometimes do have to seek out the good news. But it is there, and I do see that every day. Millions of dollars in grant money going to grassroots organizations around the country working to solve homelessness, child poverty, women's health inequities, anything that you can imagine. So seeing those sorts of things and the progress that is being made, and knowing that I'm like a small part of it, has really been able to give me hope that we really are getting closer towards a more flawless world.
That's awesome. That's so beautiful. I definitely do think that sometimes everything we face can seem overwhelming, but really taking on that perspective and reframing that each time we do something positive, we're getting at least an inch closer to that flawless world is really beautiful. Um,
Absolutely.
but thank you so much again for joining us today and for all of the support you provide Flawless and all the amazing work you do. We're so lucky to be able to chat with you and learn from you. So thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to chat with you.